Hello and welcome to the event plus activities of the Circular Economy at Harvard Symposium. We will be talking to the people making the circular economy happen, rethinking how we design, make, and reuse everything. My name is Sergio Jacinto. I am a healthcare manager and a master's candidate for sustainability to investment management at Bologna Business School. It is my great pleasure to introduce our guest today, Jean Homicki. Jean is the co-founder and CEO of MyTurn. Jean is a serial entrepreneur and technology strategist with a passion for circular and generative systems. He has led teams creating cutting-edge technology and technical solutions for organizations like the National Science Foundation, ABC News, The Economist, and other leading organizations for over 2 decades. The MyTurn platform is used by startups, cities, universities, and enterprises around the world to radically increase, produce, reuse, while simultaneously reducing consumption and waste of those very same items. Jean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Where are you calling from today, Jean?
I'm coming in from New Hampshire, where we have a big snowstorm coming and snow on the ground already. So,
oh well,
that's great.
Hopefully, I will have one here on Wednesday, also in Amsterdam.
Yes.
So, I'm rooting for it.
Yeah.
Jean, thank you again for coming. Just asking about a little bit what I read your presentation. How did you become the serial entrepreneur? How is this this nature of yours?
A little bit of nature, a little bit of fell into it. Started one of my previous companies early in the internet age when I was kind of taking on a number of the roles at a previous company I was working on anyway, and sort of understood the understood the technology as well as the topics around, sort of early internet, and really also wanted to be able to, build my own company and, allow me to sort of stay on mission, or at least early on, essentially only work with customers that I felt were at least not doing harm. Mm-hmm. It's been challenging. It's been exciting. It's been fun, stressful at times, but yeah.
And how did this interest also for sustainability and to work towards enabling circular business models came about?
Yeah, so as I was saying, with my previous company, we had pretty strong, CSR, corporate social responsibility goals, and again, not working with, companies doing harm, but we really, I especially and my team really wanted to, actually do good in the world. So basically, already looking at things like, the dual crises of, climate change that's been obvious for quite a while, mm-hmm. as well as environmental damage that we see from, our consumptive lifestyles around the world, but especially here in the United States, in the more developed world, quote unquote developed world. And so that really got me, interested in, how do we build companies and how do we build organizations that make better use of our natural resources, as well as, are fairer and better for people as well.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And you actually can see the shift nowadays. Companies, even in their mission declaration, they now a lot of times say that are a company with a specific purpose. And the word purpose is really being used now today when companies start tackling sustainability. And so how about MyTurn? How did the concept of MyTurn
yeah, so that was pretty interesting. So the original idea, or the seed for it, sort of came out of the last financial crisis. when we saw so many people out of work, losing their jobs, not having access to products, tools, things like that they needed to really get back on their feet. At the time, I was on the board of a sustainability community organization, and we were looking for ways to basically how do we help people sort of recover and bounce forward after our previous financial crisis. We ended up starting a tool lending library when I was in Seattle, and I talked with my team from my previous company. We did technology projects for a number of those companies you met, and figured, how can we best do this to enable people to gain access to products without having to necessarily purchase and own them, and have sort of a dual, provide that more affordable access while also reducing consumption and waste. And we looked at things like, and this is even 8-9 years ago, we looked at maybe we'll develop a P2P platform, but we really didn't think culture was ready, especially in the US, and especially for small items. So we designed a pretty flexible platform to essentially handle product subscription, product lending. And that the first prototype for that was sort of a community tool lending library, and that's kind of grown and snowballed from there to all sorts of different circular business models and more sustainable business models.
So what are the main business models that you actually see in your platform? Can you give me some examples?
Absolutely. So a lot of the business models revolve around product reuse is really sort of the core focus. It's often the most valuable, smallest, tightest loop of the circular economy, and that can be basically product subscription models like for clothing, tools, sporting goods. We have a startup in the UK, Graceful Changes, that offers a kids and baby clothing subscription model. So as kids grow out of what they're wearing, they can basically, their parents will get new clothing. Similar things for infrequently used items where people can pay a monthly or a yearly subscription fee to gain access to products without having to purchase them, maintain them, store them indefinitely. And so they gain access to hundreds and sometimes thousands of products without actually having to purchase them. And then, we've also, some of our customers do a more usage fee-based or something like traditional rental or similar, or a combination of subscription and reduced rental fees. And then interestingly, we didn't actually focus on this originally, but we've had all sorts of other businesses and organizations come to us for internal product optimization. So how do they take their existing products and basically fully utilize them or maximize their utilization of those products? And we had a healthcare company come to us relatively early on because they had basically just purchased the 7th copy of an incredibly expensive piece of equipment. After they were done with it, put it back in storage and realized they had 6 more already sitting there, and they may not have needed that 7th one. With our platform, we they helped realize that they actually did maybe need 3 or 4, but they didn't need that 6th and 7th. So basically, just like many of us, that are lucky enough and fortunate enough to have, storage that's filled with products that we're not necessarily using most of the time, businesses, nonprofits, government have warehouses, storage rooms, yards filled with underutilized equipment. And so, and some of those organizations will also basically realize, oh, we have this equipment, so how do we make it more valuable? So, they could potentially sell it off, and others will then also look at offering, using the other parts of our platform to offer that product, those more product subscription models, either to other businesses or even individuals.
Okay, so to sum it up, you enable reuse, product as a service, which is my favorite, and also the optimization of the use of equipments by themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So can you, for those who don't know MyTurn, can you just give us a walkthrough of how that works? So customer comes to you, register on website, and
Yeah, so it can be as simple as customer goes, signs up for their MyTurn site, creates their site, import their inventory, set up their either their subscription or their users. Sometimes a little more complex if they're using single sign-on with existing platforms, but import that inventory, and then they can basically enter it, and they can start renting it, offering it on product subscription service, or tracking it internally. So it's really a pretty simple software as a service platform, including the ability to track those users, track that inventory, track loans or rentals, reserve equipment in advance, so that way people can and other businesses can basically know that the equipment they need will be available when they need it. And then, of course, having those e-commerce pieces, for the customers that are offering recurring subscriptions, as well as a more rental model.
Yeah. So toward the still going into the operational part of how it works, how do you support your clients in terms of logistics? So you said you help them with tracking. Tracking, of course, is very important in terms of product as a service, and also regarding the use metrics of any equipment, but especially also reverse logistics, which is a nightmare for a lot of people trying out this business model going in. How do you tackle this, and how can you help your customers solve this problem?
Yeah, so we have a few different, as mentioned, customer models. Number of them are sort of place-based. So it is people that are picking up and then dropping items back off when they're done. So that, when these products are reused locally, it actually removes some of those logistical hurdles. During the pandemic, we've had a number of customers, and they had plans for this, but it sort of accelerated, have started to offer delivery services. One in Europe that's doing e-cargo bike delivery services. And so what we're doing is helping integrate other platforms right into MyTurn, so that way they can basically not only set up, say, if they're coming in person, they can also set up their delivery or shipping right through MyTurn to sort of help get those products back more easily. We, of course, have things like, if someone is returning it on, returning on a set date rather than, keeping it indefinitely on a product subscription basis, things like automated reminders, overdue notices, things like that to help the items come back. So the communication with their customers is key, but then also integrating with some of those other forms of reverse logistics to make it, essentially one-stop shop that then integrates with some of the other pieces that they need. We have, some, and if our customers are using, and reverse logistics, especially in a circular system, also has its own challenges with things like packaging, with, basically wanting to do this as efficiently as possible. So we're working with a few of our customers on finding and integrating, say, reusable packaging if they're actually doing shipping for lighter weight products like clothing, and finding what are sort of the best models of reverse logistics that are also more circular and sustainable.
Yeah, so you essentially see also what works with your customers and what the solutions they find, and you also try to integrate that in your solution, so and truly it is a circular economy approach. It's a system thinking, right? You work the system, it all works in an ecosystem, and it all has to be in a balance. How about in terms of, can your customers see, for example, the number of times an item was rented, was used?
Absolutely. So we provide rich reports and analytics, so that way they know exactly how many times each item has been used. basically the full history of that item. So each item, sort of can tell its own story of, how many times it was used, even potentially who it's used by. Similarly, full tracking on their customers to know which ones are their top customers, which ones are reusing their products the most. And then one of the other things we are working with a handful of our customers right now are additional KPIs or key performance indicators, including on basically environmental indicators like climate and greenhouse gas reductions, to look at, okay, how is reuse really reducing greenhouse gas and other environmental degradation, rather than having to mine new resources. So resource extraction, manufacturing, global supply chains, transportation, storage, actual use, and how does that actually compare? And that's kind of something that's key and very important to a number of our customers that are especially looking at more sustainable and circular economic business models.
Yeah, that's great, because companies also want to have a tool that enables them to educate their customers also. And going forward, customers will also want to know their impacts. And so for sure your clients will want to be able to convey that information to their customers, along the curious information of many times has that item been used. So also they can see the impact they have from limiting further extraction from the biosphere by reusing. That's just great. IT as your so of course your MyTurn is an IT company, and IT has had a major development the last 15 years, and I'd like to read a phrase that from Better Business, Better World, from the Business Sustainability Development Commission, that says, like it or not, over the next 15 years, sustainability will become a big and as disruptive as the digital technology has been over the past 15 years. Do you agree with that? I would love to have your comment.
Absolutely. Our whole company is essentially built around that idea in many ways. And looking at the climate crisis and how we now really have less than a decade to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. Really, IT and all of society really needs to rally around sustainability and circular economic methods, regenerative type economies, and IT is going to play a critical role in that, both how it's implemented, as well as the types of innovative business models, innovative service models that it's enabling. And going back to some of the surprising thing of how many customers have come to us for just optimizing their own internal usage of products and making sure they're not being wasteful. It really essentially weaves itself through businesses, nonprofits, government, all sectors of society, and IT has that ability to really bring these positive impacts. And certainly the way we look at it is the most sustainable product is the one that's not manufactured or purchased in the first place and is instead reused. And if we can, and we're enabling the tools to allow all sectors of society to do that.
The best products are the ones you already own, right?
Absolutely.
It's great you mentioned that. Because my next question for you was actually, how can you help your customers be more sustainable in their own operations, so more efficient, like you said?
So, that was again one of the things we found, even with customers that are offering product subscription services, is that often they don't have the the tools for, managing that type of business. They didn't really exist until MyTurn came around. So, we're basically offering them, sort of a full way to manage their inventory, manage those reservations. If they operate out of multiple locations or multiple warehouses, ensure that items are getting to where they need to go, so that way they can serve customers as efficiently as possible. On our own back end, we tend to use basically use resources as efficiently as we can, which then goes on to, since as they're using our platform, we try to basically be carbon neutral. We try to, we select our cloud infrastructure providers based on, are they using renewable energy? That's one of our, sort of prime. Are they also operating as efficiently as possible? So we can pass those benefits on to our customers as well, not only through, the sort of services and efficiencies that our platform provides, but also via the platform that we're providing itself.
Okay, so you also offer those possibilities for your customers to pass on those kind of services to their clients?
It goes right. We try to design, there are two things we take into account right from, the core of the platform. One of those is security and privacy, and the other is sustainability. So we look at those lenses for all of the decisions we make, so we can offer basically the most sustainable and, most secure, privacy protecting platform we can for, our customers.
Okay. And speaking of carbon, there's going to be a wave, a fashion about reducing carbon and becoming carbon neutral, and eventually becoming carbon positive, which will be very difficult. But it's a name, it's a goal. Additionally, besides the example you're mentioning of high and green energy, is there any other stuff you do for tackling carbon emissions?
So we actually look at our whole business and our whole business model as tackling carbon emissions. Most people don't realize that the huge impact that product consumption has on carbon emissions. The C40 cities is really has some good work out there that cities really, if they look at consumption-based emissions, are actually 60% higher than what they previously calculated, when they're just looking at their energy consumption or primarily looking at energy and transportation. And so, basically looking at our whole business model and that whole bottom up from our own use of, only using cloud infrastructure providers, or at least their regions, say Amazon Web Services, our primary provider, we pick their regions that are already essentially using 100% renewable energy, or in worst case, and we do this too, where we can't, we'll also do things like purchase and retire renewable energy credits.
Okay, great answer. Oh, time is just flying by. So I'll still have a time for one last question. What are your commitments in terms of sustainability, and speaking specifically about the Sustainable Development Goals? Have you targeted any specific goals? Which ones are more strategic for you? On MyTurn.
Yeah, so we look at our business a lot through the lens of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, is obviously sort of the one that's the top of our list, and this is where our platform really drives the most value for our customers. Having said that, given the innovative business models that our platform enables, SDG 9, we're building resilient infrastructure and fostering innovation, is actually become more important to us than maybe we originally thought. Previously, I'd say that sort of sustainable cities and communities, SDG 11, was sort of our number 2, and in conjunction with our customers, that probably is where our platform overall is having some of the biggest impact. But those 2 or 3 are really what the lens we look at through our business, and the SDGs, is a great way to, really examine and look at your business and, sort of show, what you're doing in a positive way. I mean, having said that, we really, try to look at all of them. And then especially taking into our account our customer business models, they're really working in just about every area that the SDGs focus on.
It's great. It's great you take that approach. Gene, I would just like to thank you so much for joining us today. It was a true pleasure. And also thank you so much for coming in for the shared economy session at the end of last year. Thank you so much, Gene.
And thank you, Sergio. This has been a great event. And I look forward to doing more.
Thank you. MyTurn is truly a frontrunner in the circular economy, creating meaningful impact in the environment and helping businesses understand how being environmental friendly can be profitable. In early December, we had the pleasure of hosting a talk with Richard Berger, co-founder of Swapits, and in January, we hosted Harold Tepper, circular economy lead of Philips, and also Ana Carolina, global head of sustainability for OLX. You can find the links below. Thank you so much for joining us.